Hello, people of the internet, welcome back to my channel. Before we get into today's video, I do want to say real quick that I hope that you all had a wonderful, joyous, and splendid Christmas. I'm sure that you guys have probably spent quality time with your families. I'm sure that you all have had great food. And I'm willing to assume that some of you probably had a very uncomfortable conversation with your conservative uncle at the family dinner table. That last line was a joke, but it probably was a reality for some folks. But in all seriousness, I really hope that you all had an amazing Christmas, because today's video, it is not amazing. It's the complete opposite of that, actually. With that being said, let's get into my top 10 list for the worst films of 2023. A couple of things to keep in mind real quick. 1, I am ranking this list from 10 to 1, with 10 being terrible and 1 being absolutely unwatchable. And 2, this list will be based off only on the movies that I have seen this year. Now, there has been some dog shit that has come out this year, but this is only based off the dog shit that I have seen. So you may be surprised with this list, you may not. We shall see. Kicking off this list with number 10, we have Strays. Now, Strays is a movie in which I saw the trailer for it and I told myself, this movie is either going to be unintentionally bad or surprisingly hilarious. I can confirm that this movie is just flat out awful. You guys ever see a film that tries way too hard to be funny? That was pretty much my experience with Strays. But to be fair to the film, it is a raunchy comedy. However, raunchy comedies are not really my cup of tea. But I still wanted to go in with an open mind and give it a fair chance. And this movie did not change my mind on raunchy comedies. In fact, it kind of defended my argument. I will admit, the CGI on the dogs was surprisingly good, and Jamie Foxx absolutely carried this movie. And even when all of Jamie Foxx's jokes don't hit for me, Jamie's aura and charisma was enough to prevent me from walking out of this movie. Overall, Strays is a pretty forgettable film, but I feel like even if I had a couple of drinks in me, I probably would have had more of a fun time with this movie. But then again, if I need to be intoxicated just to enjoy a movie, then it is not a good movie. Coming in at number 9, we have Haunted Mansion. Now, Disney absolutely missed the golden opportunity by not releasing this film in October. You essentially took a Halloween film and released it in July. Why? And even though this movie might have performed better in October, it still was not going to change my perspective on how I feel about it. When I tell y'all this movie is boring, it is boring. Other than Lakeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, and Tiffany Haddish, the rest of this film, it just felt like nothing was happening. It felt so bland and unoriginal. I was not having it. Even the people in my auditorium were not having it. There was this one family, I swear to you, I thought they were about to get up and leave. And even if they did, I wouldn't blame them. I won't lie, I did like the dynamic between Lakeith Stanfield's character and the little boy. I cannot remember the actor's name, but I won't lie, that connection, that whole dynamic between Lakeith Stanfield and the little boy, that could have been a movie on its own. But I feel like they took that subplot and merged it into this directionless Disney flick, you know what I mean? But Haunted Mansion, don't waste your time. Kids may like it, but they also might not. At number 8, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Talk about a big letdown. This movie was just a slap to the face to those who were excited for Phase 5. This movie has to be the amount of potential this movie had, and they just up and dropped the ball, was crazy. This movie arguably is Love and Thunder 2.0. This movie had so many errors and plot holes that I could really talk about it for days, man. But you know what? I'm going to spare y'all. Cassie Lang was kind of annoying. Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne, those two might as well not even be in the film because they did nothing. They contributed nothing to this film. And MODOK was just completely stupid. What an absolute joke of a handling of a character. The handling of that character was just awful. Like, oh my good heavens. But speaking of handling terribly, Kang. The only good and interesting character in this whole film lost to Ant-Man, the next big villain of the multiverse saga, or at least the next 2 phases, lost to Ant-Man. Let that sink in. This guy has conquered worlds. He has wiped out civilizations. and he lost to a group of ants and Ant-Man of all superheroes. Nah. And I would say I'm more excited for Jonathan Majors' return as Kang the Conqueror and what he does in the future of the MCU. But I think those days are over with. At number 7, we have The Marvels. This is the first time, even back when I was doing film reviews on Snapchat, this is the first time where I had 2 Marvel films back to back on my top 10 worst list. Like, this is a first. This is crazy. But here we are, The Marvels, the film that so many people were looking forward to. Like, forget Quantumania, forget Guardians 3, hell, forget Deadpool 3 coming out next year. We're here for the Marvels, baby. This is that real cinema. Let me stop lying to y'all. This shit was awful. I couldn't even tell you the plot to this movie. In fact, I don't even think there was a plot. This movie introduced us to interesting concepts and just did nothing with it. They just completely dropped the ball. Despite the absolute blunder this film was, there were a couple of things that I actually did like in this film. The first thing is Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. That is some of the best casting I've seen from Marvel in quite a while. She truly resembles this childlike, heartfelt soul of someone who wants to be a superhero. And I think Iman Vellani truly shines in that role. In fact, she shines in this whole movie. When the movie focuses on her, that's where the movie is like at its best. When it doesn't, it is a boring, sloppy mess. And I did like the first 20 minutes because A, it was fun, and B, it took the interesting concept of these 3 characters swapping places every time they use their powers. But after the first 20 minutes, I guess the film just kind of forgot about it and said, oh, well, on to the next. Honestly, I feel like that one meme of Pam from The Office where she's trying to compare these 2 pictures and say what's the difference, and they're the exact same. That is how I feel with The Marvels and Quantumania. Just 2 sloppy, poorly executed films that really does not show the strong suits of the MCU. In fact, those 2 films highlight the weak points of the MCU. I truly hope Disney takes notes with this because this is unacceptable. Coming in at number 6, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This movie is the textbook definition of a Hollywood cash grab. Who the hell asked for a 5th Indiana Jones film? Like, I truly believe that nobody under the age of 69 asked for this movie. Imagine taking the magic from the other Indiana Jones films, bringing it in Dial of Destiny, and then just taking a big shit on it. Dial of Destiny brought in a new character and made her so annoying that I couldn't even really connect with her. I thought by the very end that maybe she would become more... I thought maybe by the end she would become more likable, but no. This movie was 2 hours and 30 minutes. Why? And this movie uses mostly CGI. I don't care what nobody says. Practical effects will always look better than CGI. Harrison Ford tried his absolute hardest to carry this movie. He truly loves the character of Indiana Jones, but even Indiana Jones didn't deserve a film like this. And this movie had the audacity to try and open up a door for a potential sequel. Brother, we do not want that. This movie is like milking the cow at its finest, and I'm telling y'all right now, if for some reason Lucasfilms gets really desperate and tries to go forward with an Indiana Jones 6, I guarantee you it will be a massive, massive flop. Even worse than Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. Mark my words. At number 5, we have Kandahar, in which I don't even remember the plot to. This movie is like every generic action film you have ever seen in your entire life. I would not be surprised if this movie was supposed to come out in 1998 and then Hollywood decided to just put it on the shelf. And that is what we have here. A film that was supposed to come out 2 decades ago but got shelved, and after watching it, yeah, they should have kept this one in the vault. Now, the actor Naveed Negabam, he is the only redeeming quality of this whole film. I said it in my review, and I'm going to say it right here again. Kandahar is a film that you would play in the background while you and your girl are getting it on, and that is all it will ever be. Coming in at number 4, we have The Exorcist Believer. Again, a film that nobody asked for. You guys ever see a film that is visually pleasing, but from a story and narrative standpoint, it is just flat out terrible? That is what The Exorcist Believer is. I saw the original Exorcist film the day before I went to go see Believer, and boy, there is a drastic difference in quality. I don't know what's worse. The fact that Blumhouse has an entire trilogy planned out for The Exorcist, or the fact that they spent over $300 million to buy the rights. Other than the great Leslie Odom Jr. and the two little girls and the overall tone and atmosphere of the film, from a narrative standpoint, this film is just boring. There is nothing original, nothing interesting. It's just, oh my gosh. And the ending just felt so cheap and lazy. When I saw that, I said, get the fuck out of here. Talk about major plot convenience, because this movie has it all. At number 3, we have Hypnotic. Again, another film in which I completely forgot about the plot. So it's got Ben Affleck. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez. I think it's about, what was the movie even about? Hold on. Aha, here we go. You guys can read it right here if you want to. I'm not reading the plot to this, but I knew it has something to do with his daughter. Again, another cheap, lazy, generic film that you've already seen before many times. Honestly, I could go into a full deep analysis as to what was wrong with this movie, but I don't even remember. And that's kind of ironic because the movie is called Hypnotic, and I feel like this movie really hypnotized me into forgetting about this movie. Yeah. Now, here is a movie that I do remember seeing, unfortunately, and that is my number 2 spot, Expendables. You guys remember when I said Dollar Destiny was a Hollywood cash grab? I think Expendables might give that film a run for its money. This is the most cheap, most lazy, most unenthusiastic sequel I have ever seen in any franchise ever. This movie is the textbook definition of I don't give a fuck. You can tell most of the actors phoned it in. Like, everybody was here for a quick check. If I too had read this script, I myself would have been like, hey, a bag is a bag. The only good thing about this whole movie was Jason Statham. This movie doesn't even feel like an Expendables movie. This feels like a Jason Statham featuring the Expendables movie. And don't even get me started on the CGI in this movie. Look, I know I've clowned The Flash for its terrible CGI, but Expendables takes the cake. This movie has scenes that I swear to you, it looks like something straight out of a PlayStation 3 game. I kid you not. To The Flash, perhaps I've been too harsh. And last, the moment that you have all been waiting for, my number 1 pick for the worst film of 2023 is not Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, because I haven't seen it. But my number 1 pick for the worst film of 2023 is The Outwaters. When I tell y'all this is the biggest piece of dog shit I have ever seen, it is the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever seen. Imagine a bunch of hype beast critics hyping up this goofy ass movie, making you think that this is going to be like the next Reign of Terror. And then you go see it, and it is just a slap to the face. This movie, I don't even know how they got the budget to even greenlight this. After watching this movie, I feel like I got slapped in the face with the dirty cheese from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. This movie was the first time in which I rented the movie off of YouTube, and I demanded a refund right after that, because there was no way this is the same movie that these hype beast critics were gassing up. This is the most laziest, most incompetent, most boring, and most dragging film I have seen all year. This movie took an hour to build out the characters and I guess the landscape that they were visiting or whatever. And the last 30 minutes-ish, when something actually does happen on screen, it was damn near pitch black. Like, you couldn't even see what was going on. How do you take shaky cam, which is something that should be illegal in the film industry, and make it worse by doing it in the dark? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, even though majority of the last 30 minutes are dark or in the dark, I still felt that shaky cam presence there, and it irked me. The dialogue is terrible. I don't care for the characters. The last 30 minutes was just flat out bullshit. Like, this movie is so bad on so many levels, and the story is just plain vanilla boring. Everything about it was just bad. There was really nothing redeeming about it. Now, one could say that the actual horror of this film was supposed to be like the darkness. Okay, sure. Let's say that is the case. If that is the case, you could not have presented it in a more unimaginative way. Overall, The Outwaters, it flat out sucks. I cannot stress this enough. If you want to see that bad movie, go for it. But honestly, looking back at that movie, I now want to watch Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey even more. Even though I have friends that have told me that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is literally an absolute monstrosity, Is it worse than The Outwaters? Actually, you know what? The way they were talking, it probably is. Now I'm even more curious. But yeah, that is pretty much my top 10 list for worst films of 2023. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about my top 10 list. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you surprised at some movies that did make it on the list? Were you surprised at some movies that didn't make it on the list? Whatever you thought, let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, guys, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you all in the next one.
After working up the nerve, almost equal in size, I walked around with the iron for any wrinkle in time. I paid a piece of my mind for every nickel and dime, but never less than a 5 and never slept on a job. A killer crept on your squad, yet never left the garage, where your guide was close enough to see the flesh of his eyes. Get to the button and press, it's what the message advised. What's the threat behind the vest is where the testament lies.